Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our second day of a week of daily meditation. It's, I do this a lot, but then there are sometimes moments where I come out of my habit of doing this every day and I realize, like, wow, this is quite amazing that we all gather from different parts of the world and sit together and start our day in meditation together. It's quite a beautiful thing. So thank you all for creating this space and this atmosphere to be together. And thank you to Sophie for guiding us this week. I know that I could feel the energy yesterday by the end. The questions were slowly rising because we were all so, I think, grounded and calmed by this practice. So I wanted to let you know, first of all, that I started a thread in the Sangha Life Connect space, in the platform that we're using, in the daily reflection space, sharing the text that Sophie shared with us about the stone lion, as well as the questions that Sophie suggested we reflect on. So if you would like to, if you're contemplating that text this week through the sessions and you'd like to share your reflections with the community, feel free to add your comments there. I'll place the link in the chat in a moment. And I wanted to thank you as well for your generosity. I know many of you have already donated for this week of daily meditations, which support Sangha Live and Sophie. And also just want to acknowledge that many of you might have the wish to support and to donate, but it might not be aligned with your financial situation at the moment. And that is how it is. So you're so welcome to still be here. And I want to thank you anyway for the generosity. The wish to donate is as valuable as the actual act of donating. So thank you to everyone. And yes, let's sit together. We'll have 15 minutes of a Dharma talk, some guidance from Sophie, roughly 30 minutes of guided meditation. And then there's our 15 minutes at the end for questions or reflections or sharing. You can either write something in the chat. You can post your question or reflection in the chat, or if you would like to come on screen, there's a little raise a hand icon at the bottom of your screen, and that happens quite easily. We can bring you on screen and you can dialogue with Sophie. So thank you very much, Sophie.
Yeah, thank you very much, Faith, for supporting me throughout the week. It's such a great support. There's so many things not to think about. It's deeply appreciated. So a very, very warm welcome. Good morning to all. Bonjour for those who are in France. Guten Morgen for those who are in Germany. Buenos dias in España. Again, it's a delight, really, to start the day with a sense of community, how it feels fortunate, really fortunate. So I suggest that we start, like yesterday, just taking a minute, a second, just to feel the body sitting here, landing in the space, whether sitting, whether standing, whether lying down, just to invite the awareness to accompany this moment. Getting a sense of how and what it feels, to be sitting here. Just maybe aware of the mood, mind state, physical sensation. Just a very light and gentle invitation to awareness, to expand. So yesterday we have started to explore how the cultivation of a spacious and calm ground really creates a spacious, a good container, good conditions in order to enter into this land of change, of flux, of flow, of movement. And the image of a stone lion, silent at the entrance of a city, really welcoming those who come and bidding farewell to those who live. Yeah, a lion, spacious, calm, grounded, really noticing the movement of change, the movement of things arising and passing away. This lion symbolizes the awareness, and people coming in and out, the movement of this constant change and flux coming in and out within our heart and mind. So this morning from that ground, we're starting to look a little bit more closely to what the Buddha said about perception of change. And I just would like to shortly quote him. He says, bhikkhus, or monks, nuns, when the perception of impermanence is developed and cultivated, it eliminates all sensual lust, all lust for existence, and all ignorance. It uproots all conceit, I am. So I put this quote on the chat for you. But just Buddha. Here it is, so you can have it. So what the Buddha is really pointing out in that statement, is really pointing out how a deeper understanding of change can really lead to a better understanding of what we are and also what we are not. It really, in a way, offers a way, a direction towards freedom. And although we may all very much aware of that in the course of a day or in the course of everyday life, it can be also really rather difficult to perceive change with clarity. We all know conceptually that things change. We see change happening outside of us it's so obvious. Morning, evening, night, day, black, white, etc., etc. But change happening really moment to moment within really most of the time remains unnoticed. So what could help us, to really tune in into this reality? Maybe just starting, simply inquiring about it at first. For example, to which extent I truly believe this is true, that things change. Really taking this inquiry at heart. Do I truly live my life and act, in my life from that perception and that everything changes? Really starting to notice how this statement is true or not. And usually with this inquiry, what would really very quickly may comes along is all these moments when change remain unseen and not recognized. That we don't live in harmony with that truth, or we very quickly discover our limits. We really to see, how just start with a simple inquiry can help or orient, to move into investigation. just from a conceptual thinking into direct experience of how impermanence is very often for all of us, I would say, not recognized. Mm-hmm. And one of the things, because we're going to explore a few things all along all along the week. At this morning, one thing maybe that is met along that process is this very habitual resistance to change. This kind of it's like almost instinctive. This resistance that to change that can arise, like a kind of pulling back, I think is the right word in English. Pulling back of what is really unpleasant, or what is it really feels so uncomfortable. Or also, this habitual resistance that manifests as a kind of a fear, a fear of losing something. And if this is seen as a little bit, from a bit closely, what may start to emerge, is that it's the doorway to the land of loss and maybe sadness sometimes. And really to notice, for those who are very familiar with practicing with impermanence, is maybe what is the belief that is underlying this tendency. What's the belief that is maybe held here? As I take the example of sadness, and I'm going to give a very practical example to elaborate on that. Is the question is sadness experienced as a problem or just as a part of human experience? And here there is really an invitation to explore, really experientially, how we meet this. Not starting to think and to really to start to think about it, to think about what is sadness, am I sad, etc., etc. Really, just when it comes to sadness, is this a kind of a problem for me to experience sadness, or just well, that's human nature, that's human contingency. So to elaborate on this, I really would like to give an example. It's maybe a situation that is a little bit extreme, but that can really apply to every little resistance we come along during the course of a day. And okay, so as Faith mentioned yesterday, I facilitate, would say, a meditation class in an oncology ward in a hospital in Geneva. And a few weeks ago, there were such a poignant situation. One person just joined the session, and right after being told a diagnosis of cancer, right after, the oncology is on the first floor, and the center where I work is on the ground floor. She just went down. So it was really fresh. It was very vivid. It was here. And she was expressing, really the pain due to this announcement, but also a huge amount of resistance, to open to this reality, the reality of sickness. And this was expressed in that way. She was just in total denial. She was denying it and telling that I cannot be sick. I don't feel I'm sick. This is not true. She was even accusing the oncologist to be wrong, to be not a good therapist. He was wrong. It was impossible. It's so difficult for her to meet in that moment change, and to meet, of course, the sadness. It's so human. And and really to see that this appears, as a kind of a instinctive, it's a kind of organic fear. And really to notice maybe more subtly here is something that is so poignant is that is how, in a way, clinging works. Why there is clinging in that moment, what we cling to. I'm healthy. I'm healthy. It's not possible. I'm not sick. Isn't it because that maybe, in a way, unconsciously, this is a kind of a strategy just to find happiness, to still to keep up with happiness. If I hold on to this, if I hold on to this life situation, if I hold on to health, to this, I am healthy, is it going to make me happy? But actually, as you may all be familiar with, it's actually the opposite that happens. That when there is this clinging to something, when we tend to solidify something, this brings contraction. This is the open gate to struggle. This is what blocks the ease. This is what narrows the perception. This is where clarity is lost. And this is fundamentally what prevents peace from being here. And to come back to this person, was it really so beautiful and so moving for us, the group, witnessing that, is that she expressed that at the beginning of the session, and then we did a meditation, guided meditation, and the person really noticed that process. At the end, she shared with us that she realized how clinging to a state that was gone prevented her from getting in touch with the reality of sickness, and in other words, to prevented her from being with what was happening here, this flow of change, this movement, life. The very essence of what life is about, constant and flow, change. And how this, she also noticed, she was expressing this with such clarity, it was admirable. She said that she saw how it was creating a tension within her body and her heart and her head and her mind. And only then, really only then, that there were this clear perception, this clear seeing. She felt a relief from fear, and that the anxiety started really to dissolve. And she could finally get in touch with the sadness that was this natural emotion that was there. And only then the tears came up. But it was tears, of course, of expression of sadness, but also profoundly liberating, because there were no attempt to control, this flow of change. And this was possible because there was stability, because of this exercise of just coming back into the moment, to become this very silent and still lion, inviting people to enter the city and leaving them, bidding farewell and going away. So this example really showing, really how we can't rely on anything. And at the same time, how most of the time we want to believe that there is something we can rely on. That's why at the beginning of this talk this morning, there was this investigation, this invitation maybe to start with inquiry. And really to learn to see how resistance to impermanent is really a doorway to anxiety and struggle. A very simple sentence in our head, oh, should not be like this. This person should not tell me that. And really learning to sense, to meet the unpleasantness, recognizing the unpleasantness of the experience that comes along. And really realizing the poignancy that resisting, clinging, grasping, it does not work, does not bring peace. It just leads to really just lead us to a dead end. or 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 just it just lead us to really to crash into the land of dukkha, of suffering. So really learning to recognize when this is happening, and really not trying to change it, or meeting, this attempt to change. Or also, no need to bring any judgment, or learning to recognize when judgment come into place there. Just learning to meet these moments of resistance to change, just because it is a habitual, almost instinctive, conditioned, learned, constructed, not constructed, but learned way of doing it. And really a moment to moment awareness filled with um, gentleness, kindness, and a sense of care for this habitual way of resisting. And this is what we're going to explore now in the course of 25 or half an hour guided meditation, which for those who experience maybe more silence at the end. So please feel free to take the time to stretch, to move a bit, have a zip, just entering into this moment of formal practice, being aware of what is needed here, right now. Yeah, to be balanced, a balance between alertness and a sense of relaxation. It's just finding the posture that is suitable for you right here, right now. Really inviting awareness in the posture. Yeah, really having a sense of the body sitting, lying down, or standing. This opportunity of practicing in community this morning. This moment with ourselves, for ourselves. Cultivate clarity of mind, ground stability, openness. As stable as a stone lion. Open, aware of the constant passing away of people coming in and out of the city. finding this space of refuge, whether in coming back to the breath, to the body sensation, or to this wonderful quality of hearing. Inviting sounds to come to the organs of hearing. A very receptive movement of awareness, letting sounds coming, not going outside to reach a sound somewhere. Very receptive attitude. Stable and open. Noticing maybe the cycle of life of a sound, coming to the ear, coming louder maybe, intense, and slowly, slowly, the sound decreasing, the sound dissolving. A moment to moment noticing of a sound. Noticing the life of a sound and its death. Maybe noticing the tendency to try to control sounds. Like this small reaction when a sound comes to the ear. And if a sound is pleasant, just wanting to not make it go away. Very simply, just noticing the contraction, very basic physical sensation of contracting. Pleasant sound, don't want it to go away. Absence of sound, silence, feels good, don't want it to go away. This little resistance that very quickly appears. Maybe also noticing the slight resistance, the slight contraction. And the sound is perceived as unpleasant. A car passing, a plane over your head, the neighbor, just experienced as unpleasant, disturbing, uncomfortable. Noticing the contraction there. Maybe all the elaboration that comes along with thinking about a way to get away from it. This person should not make that noise, this car should not be here. What costume is wearing resistance? Just noticing, nothing to change, just noticing what the mind is doing, what's happening. From a space of stability, kind and care. Like the silent lion. life expressing itself as sounds, sounds arising, being here for a while, and passing away. Changing nature of life. Just this. Nothing to do, nothing to add. Just noticing, as grounded as a stone lion. Just noticing the changing nature of sound and sometimes the resistance that comes along, and sometimes not. Nothing to change, just learning to recognize what's happening moment to moment. Inviting in the field of awareness the sound of the bell, arising, leaving for a while, and passing away. At your own rhythm, at your own pace, opening the eyes. Getting a sense of how it feels to be in contact visually with the direct environment. Maybe the need to stretch, to stand up before sitting again. Noticing how things may have changed 100 times during 25 minutes of meditation. And how not only physical sensations have changed, but maybe the mood, the mind state, how it feels to inhabit this body. Sometimes when resisting to this change, sometimes not. Really learning to get used to know better, to develop a more harmonious and friendly relationship with this. This contemplative approach is really learning to be in relationship with what is here, learning to relate with change instead of trying to keep or trying to push away. Really to learn to open, to be willing to meet. There's still about 15 minutes, maybe a little less, for questions, answers, comment, something you feel the need to share. Remaining silent is also absolutely fine. How many times resistance to change remains unnoticed, unrecognized. And learning to see the difference. When it is met with clarity, with discernment, how it helps to disentangle the tangle, sorry for the pronunciation. Thank you, Hedy, for your comment. I'm glad this is supportive and helpful. Jane, a question. So, the stone lion is giving me the idea that awareness is somehow constant and unchangeable. But how can this be when everything is changed? It seems paradoxical. Can you shed any light on this? Yeah. Thank you for this question. Yeah, I think this path is absolutely about meeting paradox all the time. To text the purpose, this relative reality and a worldly experience, unworldly experience, relative and absolute truth. Although I'm not very much interested, in all these theoretical thing. I'm not sure I can say. I don't know if in some way sati, the translation in Pali for mindfulness, awareness, this capacity to remember, is permanent or not. The thing is that at some moment something in me is aware, at some moment something in me is not aware. And really to learn to notice what the difference it makes when awareness is present or not. I would tend to say that really this is really coming from my little experience, is that every time there is a connection, awareness is here. Does it mean awareness is permanent or not? Who knows? But so far, from years of practice, every time there were this movement of remembering and of returning to this present moment, awareness has been available, always present. Lean. I think you said was it? I wonder about sounds. I notice that sometimes the awareness of sound goes very far. There is a kind of vastness. It feels sometimes like the awareness is everywhere or travel far. But then I am wondering if I am going too far away from myself. If there is not stability inside. Maybe I should stay closer to myself and let sounds pass through just here. One of the things that comes along the way when we start to pay attention to impermanence is that it comes in. That's what I said at the beginning is that it really comes to questions what we think or who we think we are, and it tends to, in just being with the sound, when it becomes more subtle, more refined, there is this kind of experience that we the difference between the sound and me in this body start to really dissolve. And this idea of maybe of who we are starting to really collapse. And this is a profoundly unsettling experience. So really to just notice that, that because a sound can be just heard, hear sound, there is the perception that is recognizing the sound as the sound of a car, seeing the changing nature of the sound. This can be a kind of a very basic awareness, but sometimes the sound comes to the body, and it's not that the sound is just not only heard with the ear, but it feels the sound is heard and is perceived and sensed and experienced with all cells of the body. And in these moments, of course, this image we may carry about who we are, this me being here and the sound being there, starts to dissolve. And how this can, bring a kind of it starts to shake maybe the awareness, of this sense of self. So this is really an area maybe that can explore. I hope this brings some food. But thank you for the question. Unborn and indestructible from, it's beautiful. A question. Okay, I'm glad, Lean. Thank you for your feedback. A question from Clive. Thank you. I love this daily practice and the Buddha's teaching, and I want to eliminate ignorance and maybe not lose all sensual lust and all lust for existence. I can relate to that very easily. I feel as though a lust for life is not entirely a bad thing. Any comment? Being in this body, having this opportunity to experience life as a human being, comes along with some contingency, with the condition of being a human. And being a human is being infused by desire, by lust, by wanting, by not wanting, by wisdom, by joy, by sorrow, by fear. And to really recognize that without this desire, life could not be here. We could not be here together. We are here because at some moment, two people met, and had this strong desire for each other, would have given birth to us. So in that sense, this lust for existence it's not something to, in what we're doing here, we're not trying to eradicate things. We function in a dual mode. There is the right, the wrong. This is real. This is not real. This is right. This is wrong. This I like. This I dislike. This I want. This I don't want. This defines really our whole world. But here is really it's more about opening and create a space for all of this, all the experience of being human, wanting, not wanting, liking, disliking, learning to recognize it moment to moment, and why doing this is really to gain, a deeper clarity, more wisdom, more understanding, and more discernment of what is a source of suffering and what is a source of happiness, of what brings peace, what brings pain, not only for oneself, but also for others, for the world. This is really in learning to open to the full range of being a human, how it can change profoundly the way we interact in the everyday life. Okay. Faith question. Reposting a question from Patricia higher up in the chat. Sorry, I missed that, Patricia. Cultivating noticing resistance to change in the day while meditation, is much easier than at night when sleep is interrupted by dreams. Would you say something about that period of rest at night? Oh, oh, yeah. Thank you for that. And then I'm sorry, we keep the question. If there is other question, we keep them for tomorrow. I just take 1 minute here. Yeah, usually, we are not really, there is not much of awareness in this time of sleeping, maybe except, but maybe I mentioned it already, maybe except, when you enter into intense practice for 1, 2, 3 months, sometimes the momentum of awareness is becomes so stronger, so powerful that there might be a kind of sense of awareness at night during sleep. There is this sleeping area, the sleeping space, but there is this awareness, this aware of this is sleep that is happening, or this is dream that is happening. And a part, is not taken into a story to which dreams can sometimes take us. But really, this is really also, this is one of the things to accept, to learn to accept, is that really at some time during the day and at night, there is no awareness. And we're not mindful. And really to just to check if there is this attempt, this wanting, especially when we become kind of a practitioner who practice for quite a while, this desire to, I want to be aware, I want to be aware, I want to be aware. And actually, if this is unseen and not recognized, how actually this can become a hindrance, and how this leads to tension, to lack of clarity. Yeah. I think we have to stop here because maybe some of you are busy and have to go to work or whatever. Thank you for being here with us. Thank you to Sangha Life to offer this space for practice. And thank you for this sense of community. I wish you all a wonderful day, and hopefully, maybe with great pleasure, to meet tomorrow morning. Thank you to all. Be well.